have the high jump right now, my event, and this is my athlete. I coach this athlete, Mike Pascuzzo. He is jumping at a personal record 7 feet 6 inches, and it's very difficult to judge their steps in the high jump when it's windy. The wind is at the athlete's back, so they don't have to run as hard at the bar to make the height. And he is unsuccessful at 7.6. This event has gone actually pretty much close to what we would plan. It's a good, solid field, but the American record is far from 7.6. It's 7.9 3/4 now.
Spent some time with Scooz. He says that you're analytical about jumping, and he needs to be more analytical.
Exactly, and I could have been a little bit more emotional as a jumper also. I was a little bit too much analytical. But we have Larry Myrick's here on the runway live. He's getting a lot of pressure here. He's got a couple of athletes just fractions of an inch behind him in the men's long jump at this time. This is Brian Brown, who has had some success at the NCAA level. Another athlete from Louisiana in the high jump who's done very, very well. We're switching back and forth between the high jump and long jump as they are, of course, happening simultaneously here at the National Championships. This is Myrick's second round jump. He's our current leader. And that a much better effort technically than his first. He got a little to the side off the board, which seems to be his MO. He gets off the board and goes a little bit to the right. Again, good arm speed, but he drops the right arm a little bit looking for the board, and he gets much more of the board on this particular jump. And you can see he does not lean back nearly as much as Mike Powell and Llewellyn Starks did in their first round jumps, but he gets way off to the side of the pit. In fact, you can get a real good sting on your Achilles tendon or on your heel if you hit the side of that pit. And Larry Myrick stretches out his lead to 27 feet, 9 1/4, and it's just slightly over the allowable of 2 meters per second. That's Mark Reed, who looked extremely good in the earlier rounds in the qualifying yesterday. In fact, he had a jump at 7.2 1/2 that he had about a 4-inch clearance on. And then he made the final by on the count back at 7.2 1/2. He is jumping at 7 feet 6 inches. We are live. Those are the remaining competitors in the competition. A lot of athletes jumping at 7 feet 6 inches. This is not one of the best high jump facilities in the world. It's a little bit off center. The wind is gusting, so that shows the depth and quality of American high jumping lately because of the fact of Hollis Conway setting the American record this year, Jerome Carter and Thomas McCants improving the record last year, and of course Hollis Conway winning a medal in the Olympic Games. That's really stimulated a lot of the U.S. jumpers, Ron.
Dwight, they're coming off grass onto the tartan turf down there. What is that like?
It's not easy, but it's only the first couple of steps. It's not as bad as if it's 3 or 4 steps before the bar. But again, this particular facility is off-center. It's not perpendicular or parallel to anything, and it makes it very difficult for the athletes to find their perspective and get a bead on where their run-up should be. Almost all of the athletes have commented to me that they think that something is wrong with this place. Something perspectively, they lose where their run-up should be. Mark Reed has very short strides for such a tall individual, and he really goes right into the bar with his upper body. He probably had enough hip height to make that height, but he hit it with his shoulder blades on the way up. That has been his MO in this event. He's had a 7.7 personal record from a couple of years ago, but he just struggles at those lower heights. Brent Harkin, 7.7 3/4 competitor. He's just checking his run-up right now. Always runs up to the bar, takes a look at what's going on. He is often a competitor who will jump well in meets leading up to a national championship or an Olympic trials, have a good mark coming into a big meet, and then at the big meet itself, something just seems to happen. The fact that he's in the event at this point in time shows that he is in contention.
We will be going back to the 3,000 meters for the women right now. Patty Sue Plummer is leading. Sabrina Dornhofer is running second with Annette Hand third. So stay with us. We will be bouncing back and forth the remaining 20 minutes or so of coverage here on U.S. Olympic Gold. We will be trying to get as much in as possible in the next 20 minutes. And there is the 3,000 meters back to the high jump pit. Still taking his time, lining everything up. Were you that deliberate?
Yes, I was more deliberate probably than anyone else in the event. When they cut our time back from 2 minutes to 1.5 minutes, I really never made the adjustment. I was often jumping with about 5 seconds left in my concentration time. So if something happened with wind or there was some glitch in my run-up, there was absolutely no way to bail out. I just had to go ahead and do it. You can see struggling a little bit here in this competition. Harkin had a miss at 7.2 1/2. He had a miss at 7.3 3/4 and passed. So this is actually his final attempt in the competition. He must jump here, even though it's only the second round at this height. He must clear here or he is out of the competition.
Right, you used to just intimidate the officials, though, wouldn't you? The time really wouldn't matter. You'd give them a stare and take all the time you wanted.
Yeah,
only in good weather, though.
I was really very rarely called on a time fault because I was able to come up with something. I was able to manufacture something. But Harkin really is getting a lot of time here. I don't know if they're giving him some extra time because the wind is gusting a little bit and having trouble keeping the bar on. But Harkin really is getting the benefit of the doubt here with regards to the wind.
4 laps left in the 3,000. Harkin taking his time. Patty.
Now the bar's been moved to 7.7 1/4, and we have no less than 5 athletes competing at this particular height. Brian Stanton, who was 11th in the Olympic Games last summer in Seoul. This is just moments ago. His final attempt at 7 feet 6 inches. He's a tough competitor, and he gets good clearance, just brushes with his legs on the way down. Brian Stanton, you just can't count this guy out. He can look real bad at the early heights, but don't close your eyes on him for a moment until the bar comes off the third time. Stanton is very, very tough. You can see over here just grazing with his back and just slightly with his legs, but not enough for the bar to come off. You have to be careful on a day like this. With the wind blowing, you really don't want to touch the bar because then it can come off. Former American record holder Jimmy Howard, he was 10th at the Olympic Games in Seoul, here at 7.725, and that's live, and he misses his first attempt. This is going to really be weeding out the men from the boys. 5 athletes jumping at this particular height. Hollis Conway leading this contingent. 7.725 is a height that he has jumped many, many times, but you can see by having 5 athletes in the event at this late hour, we may not see at the conclusion of this event while we're on the air. Jimmy Howard a little bit into the bar from the ground, hits it with his legs, his lower body. That's because of the wind. The wind is blowing the athletes from behind, and they sometimes get a little too much speed going, and they can't convert that speed up into the air. Again, the high jump is an event where you're trying to do everything you can to defy the laws of gravity, trying to use all of your horizontal speed and take it up in the air. Now, Brian Brown, he was successful at 7.6 on his final attempt as well. He's had a number of jumps in this competition, but he's seen 2 good athletes in front of him miss. If he were to nail 7.725 on his first attempt, that would move him way up into contention in the top 2 or 3.
Dwight, at what point does fatigue start to play a factor in the high jump? They've been out here for several hours now.
Well, the heat obviously is a factor. There's no shade out by the high jump. It will usually start to take its toll about this time of the competition. Your 5th or 6th jump, you're starting to have to really muster some strength to jump at heights that are closer to your personal record. You're feeling a little bit of fatigue. The athletes were out here for a couple of hours yesterday in qualifying. They had to jump 4 heights, some of them 3 heights in qualifying to make the final. So those who are not well conditioned, and some collegians who have jumped long seasons here in the spring, might have trouble at this point in the competition. And Brian Brown, absolutely nothing on top, stalled, never really got the hip height that he needs, and he's probably suffering from some fatigue and the fact that he's jumping at a height better than he has ever performed in his life.
Dwight, they're looking right into the sun, too.
You can see here, sorry, Brian, you can see he got the height kind of early, but absolutely nothing left to carry him into the pit at all. But now we get our first chance to see the new American record holder, Hollis Conway, the NCAA champion. And unlike most of the guys in this competition, Hollis Conway is only 6 feet tall. Very, very short for the event these days. That's a miss at 7.725. And he has only had 1 miss in the competition up to this point. He had a miscue back at 7.375. Hollis Conway, again, very, very short, has tremendous natural vertical leaping ability, and he has developed a technique that's extremely efficient. Very short last step. He has outstanding leaping ability, and he just timed his jump in the wrong place, just planted a little bit out. He's sensitive to the fact that the wind is blowing. He's a very small athlete who relies on his speed, and you have to be careful with where he's going to plant his foot.
And that is the discus competition. Let's go down to the long jump competition as we bounce around our high jump. As we bounce around our coverage, trying to give you the complete coverage. Obviously, because of time elements today, we're not going to be able to complete some of the coverage because most of the competition is going longer. Dwight?
Brian Brown has had to compete against Hollis Conway all of his college career, so he gets a good chance to see the best American that has ever been in this particular event. Brian Brown's second attempt at 7.725. Let's see if there's some improvement over his first one. And it's a clearance for Brown, a new personal record. I would have never bet. You guys have had really good shots at betting today on who's going to win and how fast you're going to run. If you'd asked me, is this guy at any chance to jump in this height, I would have said, boy, I'll tell you, he looks awfully tired. But he not only did he have a good jump at that from a standpoint of a clearance, his hip height was outstanding, and he almost knocked it off on the way down. This changes the complexion of this event tremendously because he puts pressure on Stanton, Conway, and Howard with this clearance at 7.725, and he really hopped off the ground on this one. Look at the hip height on that jump. Brian Brown, what a surprise. 15 athletes jumped 18 feet in the qualifying on Thursday, so that's why we have so many pole vaulters and why the event is going so slowly. Now, Jimmy Howard, also same situation. We had 14 high jumpers in this field. 10 of them jumped 7.375 to qualify. 4 jumped 7.2.5. So the bar has inched up rather slowly, only an inch at a time from 7.1.5, and that's why we are still covering this event, even though we have gone over our time allowed for the U.S. Olympic gold. We're trying to stay with these field events and finish them up as much as we possibly can. Jimmy Howard, the winner of the Olympic trials last year in Indianapolis, went over to Seoul and finished a disappointing 10th place, even though he had a very good mark. 7.7 was a 10th place finish in the Olympic Games, which will show you the kind of depth that we have in the world in the high jump. Howard, built very much like myself, 6'5", 175, relies on good speed, good strength, has been an excellent technician in the past, past, and he has been a very consistent jumper in the past, and he just knocks the bar down at 7.25 on the way down. If he had had his height further down the bar, he might have made that height. Jimmy Howard, you never know where his plant is going to be in this event, and if he would get more consistent with his plant, he would have more success.